Good evening and welcome to the October 24th school board meeting. We have some visitors, and if the students of East Derry would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd love for you guys to come and stand up and lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance to get started. All right, thank you so much. All right, we will get started with the approval of the minutes. I believe we have non-public minutes from October 10th. I'll take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve non-public minutes from last meeting.
We have a first by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason. And actually, for all of those that are here, as you can see, one of our board members is not here. They are participating remotely. So good evening, Paul. Hopefully you can hear us and see us. So because of that, we do have to do a roll call vote for each motion that gets brought to the table. So I will start over here to my right. Kearney?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
And Paul?
He's on his way in now, Mr. Chair.
Okay. The chair will vote yes. We'll give Paul maybe 10 or 15 more seconds. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Paul, I don't know if you can hear us.
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. So we just, Karen, you made a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes from October 10th, so I just need your vote on that.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll move on to the approval of the October 10th public meeting minutes.
Motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
We have a first by Kearney,
Second.
second by Michael. All right, Paul, I'll start with you.
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. With that, I will love to introduce Mr. Fox and the students and teachers from East Derry Elementary to come on up and do your school presentation. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having us tonight. We're very excited. We have a great presentation for you. But first, we would like to recognize our Volunteer of the Year. And tonight, we are recognizing Chrissy Santos. She began volunteering at EDMES when her daughter, Cadence, was in kindergarten, and since then, she's brought so much to our community. She volunteers to organize and work at so many events, and she served as our PTA secretary. Over the last 2 years, she started and helped lead a martial arts program after school, and she volunteers at that as well. She has organized paint nights. She chaired the PTA Reflections Committee, assisting with all those entries. And one of the special things that she's brought to East Derry, she organized 2 different kindness initiatives that we've had over the last 2 years, which has become an annual tradition, and will definitely continue on after Cadence moves on to middle school. The first are gratitude grams, which we do around Thanksgiving time, and students and teachers all get postcards, and they can write and mail care of the PTA postcards all over to whomever they would like to. And that's been tremendously successful. And the second is a Share the Love campaign, letter writing campaign that she started around Valentine's Day, where the last 2 years we've had our students write to first responders. During COVID, they focused on folks in the medical profession. This last year was our police and firefighters, which it was tremendous response to that. And then she's also helped lead food drives, collecting non-perishables, which has gone to end 68 Hours of Hunger. So we just can't thank her enough for all she's done for our community. It would not be the same without Chrissy Santos, so if she could come up, we would like to recognize her.
Certificate of Appreciation, Volunteers in Education, Chrissy Santos, for valued service at East Derry Memorial Elementary School.
All right, so tonight we are here to highlight a few of our amazing students as well as a few of amazing staff members we have. We are going to recognize Jody Stowell, our music teacher. She goes above and beyond every day in the music classroom, but also with our chorus and band students. And this year she has started a very popular club, which you will soon come to know about. She's also a resident DJ at East Derry, so anytime we have a celebration or we need to get the beats going and get everyone excited, she entertains us with those skills. So the first part of our presentation tonight is her ukulele collection. She has built a class set that the students are so excited to use and learn about. And then the second is a phenomenon that started the end of last year and has remained a very popular one revolving around the yo-yo. It's a time that students come together and they learn from each other, they teach each other tricks, and they're just socially connected with minimal screen time, if any at all, so that's amazing. So they're here tonight to share some tricks with you, and maybe even you guys could learn a thing or two. So, Mrs. Stowell, take it away.
All right, my name is Jody Stowell. I don't know if I should sit or stand. I've been in the district for 23 years as a band director for 16 and now elementary school music, and I absolutely love it. The first thing I want to show you guys tonight is ukulele. It's something that I teach in 5th grade and a little bit in 4th. And it is just a wonderful instrument. I think everybody sitting in here should play the ukulele. It has 4 strings, 22 frets, and it is instant gratification, and that's what we're all looking for, especially in elementary schools, instant gratification. So without further ado, I'm gonna stop talking. And these guys are selected from my class, or all my classes, and they're gonna play a little Don't Worry, Be Happy, because that's what everybody should do. Stop worrying and just be happy. If you wanna know how to get good ukuleles, well, it took a while. Thanks to you guys, I get a budget, but for about 5 years, I did 4 ukuleles a year, and finally I have a set and some donations. So here we go. Are you ready? Okay. So I teach them technique, but I also teach them how to use the internet, even though they probably know more than I do. I'm just gonna show you what they're gonna be looking at. Oh, I forgot my password. Mr. Maple. Oh wait, he's not here anymore, whoops. Okay, so if you take a look at this, most kids know how to use the internet and know how to go on YouTube. But what is hard is the grid that you see here. This grid is called tab, and so they're gonna follow the smiley face tab to Don't Worry, Be Happy. All right, so that's what they're looking at. Can you see it? All right. First things first, I want you guys to all sit together, so close to each other. I'm a performer, so that's all I know how to do, I feel, so we perform a lot in class. And before every performance, put those yo-yos in your pocket. Before every performance, we warm up, so everybody show me C. We'll do 8 strums of C. Ready, go. Okay, so I'm also modeling it for them while they're watching the grid go by or the tab go by. D minor, ready, go. F, ready, go. Back to C. questions, but here is the song. Hopefully the mic will pick it up. Feel free to sing along. Yeah.
I can just
Oh, we have a commercial.
girl talk.
While the commercial's going, again, these are Aloha ukuleles, some of the finest ukuleles that Derry has to offer, and I trust 5th, 4th, and 3rd graders with them. Here? Here?
Don't you bring everybody down.
Oh, it's the end. Hold on.
Yep, that's the end.
1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Half. See?
Here's a little song I wrote. I want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. Every life we have some trouble. When you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy
C minor.
now. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
You just got to witness some of these kids' first performance ever. So when they're rock stars, show up to their concert, they'll put you in the VIP section, right? All right, so ukuleleers, you're gonna go put your ukulele back in the bucket. You can sit with your parents unless you're going to do the next presentation, which you're just gonna come on up, all right? So
Ms. Stoll, can we see if there's any questions for the ukuleleers?
Oh, yes. Are there any questions for the, do I ask or do you ask?
Well, you can ask.
Do you have any questions for my ukulele class or kids from the class?
Not a question, but awesome job. Loved it.
Thank
We should do this every meeting.
Every meeting just have
Yes,
a little
it's a good way to
ukulele?
start the meeting, the
I
best way to
agree.
start the meeting.
I agree. All right, my friends, come right over here. You're seeing a very small group of kids who are part of our 50-member plus a waiting list of Yo-Yo Club. How did we get to 50, 60 kids who are interested? Well, let me introduce you to Colin. Colin is a hood. Husky, not a wolf, not a wolf. He is a Husky, former alum of East Derry. He and another person I gave a yo-yo to, and third of the school exploded last year with yo-yo. So Colin is my pro, because he's been doing it for over a year now, or a little under a year. And these guys, so you got some pros in there, so I want you to be looking. But we had our first meeting of Yo-Yo Club yesterday. So spread out, guys, because you're going to want to do your tricks. You're going to want to walk that dog. You want to rock the baby. You need lots of space when you're rocking a baby. And so what I love about yo-yo is bringing back the art of play. We don't do enough play in school anymore. I've watched students who are struggling with discipline pick up a yo-yo and get so engrossed in it and then just become these stars and inspire other people. They teach each other the tricks. They're kind to one another. It's not like, I'm not going to show you my trick, like, let's all learn together. And if you could see the 50 kids in the gym yesterday just having fun and smiling, it's something you've never experienced before. So I invite all of you on Mondays, if you're busy, if you're not busy, 3 to 4, to come to Yo-Yo Club. But there's something really important you must know about yo-yos, and that is we don't just throw a yo-yo like you did. Mr. Garofalo, I know that you know how to do a yo-yo. so I'm not even gonna do that because I have you here and I have tons of unresponsive. Can you explain what an unresponsive yo-yo is?
So basically, an unresponsive yo-yo, as you can see that, is basically when you throw it down and it goes up. But an unresponsive yo-yo won't come up. And you have to do a yo-yo technique called the bind.
If you can do a bind with Cullen so they can see it in all different areas.
So the first you is you put your anything and put it like this. And then
Whoa.
All right. So while the kids are yo-yoing, please watch them. I'm gonna share with you some facts about yo-yo that I think you're gonna enjoy. So you ready, kids? Walk that dog, rock that baby, do your tricks. So we do yo-yo 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade on Mondays in the gym. We're bringing back, keep going, I'm just talking. We're bringing back the art of play, setting aside time to play with a yo-yo. It develops hand and eye coordination, fine motor skills, the ability to use both sides of your body, the ability to reach across the middle of your body. It builds hand and finger strength, builds concentration, teaches determination. Oh, more than anything, it's incredible to watch this determination. Social and emotional development. Bring out the DNA, guys. If you got that DNA, show the DNA. Social and emotional development. Oh, DNA! The opportunity to perform for you guys is one that we're so thrilled. If you have kids and you have grandkids, buy them a yo-yo. Show them Gentry Stein, who is like the Tom Brady of yo-yoing. I just got an email from him a couple weeks ago, not to brag. All right.
you kind of are bragging.
I kind of am, you're right. But you would too. Did you get to see the DNA? The DNA.
Which one's the DNA?
DNA,
Oh, yeah,
guys.
yeah, we saw it. We got a front row seat up here.
Yeah.
Trying.
If you have that DNA, Ben Bose is a DNA. I blink. There we go, right here. Here it goes. Here it goes. Do anybody know why it's called the DNA?
The helix.
Yes. Any questions for my yo-yoers? Now's your chance.
Colin, what first got you interested in yo-yos? Why did you want to start this?
Keep playing. Keep playing.
My friends named Levi, he first got into it, and I said, that was pretty cool. And I thought that also was for you. So let's try it. And then I got
I love it. Well, good for you. You look very talented, and thank you guys for coming up and showing us your skills today.
Anybody can yo-yo. Anybody can yo-yo. Yes, did you have a question for the board?
Any of you, when you were a kid, did you do yo-yo like we do right now? Any of you?
Not as good.
I mean, I'm just a beginner.
I definitely remember when the yo-yo craze swept through my elementary school back
Yeah.
in the early 90s. So
What I think is wonderful is that it was Cullen. Cullen is the one that inspired this. So it's incredible what one little toy can do and what one human being can do. So we're so proud to have Cullen as alum, and we're so proud of you guys in all of the yo-yo clubs. So let's give them a round of applause, everybody.
So, is this working? There we go. So I just wanted to thank Mrs. Stoll and Mrs. Morin, who is also helping her out. We thank them for their work. Last year when Mrs. Stoll came to me and said, you want to have a yo-yo club, there's actually a Simpsons episode where they give them all yo-yos at the school. And it's like everyone's getting hit and everything, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But it really took off, and if you could see, I think there's 57 kids wanting to be part of this, all working together. It's really been a wonderful thing. So thank you. Thank you to all the kids tonight, Mrs. Stoll and Mrs. Morin, and our Volunteer of the Year, Chrissy Santos. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Well, if that's it from East Derry, we'll take a couple-minute break and come back after everyone clears out, I guess. Thank you so much.
Jody.
All right, welcome back to the October 24th school board meeting. Thank you for your patience as we bid adieu to the students and staff and their parents from East Derry. Thank you for that great presentation around yo-yos and ukuleles, both of which I can't do very well, so thankfully we have kids in the district that can. With that, we will move on to the next piece of the next part of the agenda, which is the next charter school update, and I believe we have Stella here to give that to us. Good evening, Stella.
Hello. So October is actually a very busy month for us. I think it's always busy during October. We always have a lot going on. We just finished the first module of the year. It went really good. A lot of students got a lot of their projects. I believe we came to about 70 something in community service hours so far. And we have some students in Back in the Saddle, which is equine therapy for learning how to work with horses in a therapeutic setting. For some students, that is really helpful. And then some students visited a science lab at UNH and got to learn about how diseases are studied. And then students have done a lot of community service, like I said, by cleaning up pollution, visiting Pleasant Valley Nursing Home to play bingo. Wi-Fi Cafe started, which is when students go to Marish and Garish and help some elderly with like their phones or like emails or stuff like that, which is really helpful. I participated once. It was really great. On October 31st, we're going on a field trip to a gaslighting play, which is interesting. I'm excited. And then actually tomorrow is Judge Broderick's presentation on mental health, 6 to 7 at Next, I believe, or at Hood. I kind of forgot. And then on the 28th of October, we're doing a downtown trick-or-treating event where some Next students will be there in their costumes, handing out candy bags. And then on the 8th of November, we're having a family engagement night, which is at Next. And then on the 10th, we have no school in November. And then on the 16th of November, we're doing the Red Cross Blood Drive. And now PTSA is seeking donations for the raffle calendar fundraiser. If you have any questions, you are able to email Miss Hayward at khayward, HAYWARD, at nextcharterschool.org. And then we signed up for the Penguin Plunge again this year. I believe this is the 4th or 3rd year we've done it. I'm participating once again. And then 5 staff completed a course called Executive Function, How We Get Stuff Done. 2 staff members completed full-day training called Teaching and Reaching the Teenage Brain. And then 2 other staff members attended a screening and discussion of the movie Anxious Nation, which is a documentary on anxiety. And then 3 staff members signed up for a personalized coaching session from a professional leadership coach through Results Ahead, which is a website. And then college tour season started as well. We have SNHU and Manchester Community College and Colby Sawyer and some other great colleges like that. And that is all that is on my agenda. October is pretty busy.
Pretty busy.
Certainly sounds like it. I have a couple questions if you don't mind. So you mentioned the Judge Broderick event tomorrow. I know there were tickets, I think they were free, but there were tickets available. Are there still any left?
I believe so, yes. You're able to reserve.
Okay. And then the downtown trick or treat, I know last week Emily mentioned that they were taking donations of candy as well. Is that something else that true?
Parents or anybody is able to drop off candy at Next. We have a little basket going.
Is there a cutoff date for that?
As long as it's before the 28th.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Stella or Next?
Thank you.
All right, we will pass the mic over to Anthony for a Pinkerton Academy update.
Well, hello again. Not a lot new. Unlike Next, this is kind of the slow season at Pinkerton, so I'm just gonna, I guess, go over some stuff I talked about last time. Construction on the social studies wing is continuing. The first slab is gonna be laid very soon. And after that, we'll begin second floor. I was at Pinkerton today, because I go there. And and yeah, they got the crane in now. They're building the walls on the outside. It's starting to look like a building and not like metal rods everywhere. So it's looking good. The start time survey is still out. Parents can do it, staff can do it, and they can opt in their students to do it too. The strategic plan at Pinkerton, it's continuing throughout the year. It'll outline the school's master plan for the next 3 to 5 years. And in Tigony and Munich, the school play will be opening this weekend, the 27th through the 29th. You can get tickets on the Stockbridge Theater website. That's all I have. Is there any questions?
I just want to congratulate you on your appointment to the New Hampshire Youth Advisory Council.
New Hampshire Legislative Youth Advisory Council.
Congratulations.
I still can't remember the acronym.
Any other questions? I know I think playoffs are coming up soon for sports. Is that accurate, or have they started already?
I feel like I would have heard about it
Okay.
if it had. It's probably soon. We're almost at 10 games, I think. So
Right.
I believe the season's 10 games, right? I think.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for the update, Anthony.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right.
Mr. Chair, do you mind if I have 2 minutes of privilege time?
Go ahead.
All right, before we start delegations individuals, I just wanted to address some emails the board and myself received regarding our capital summary that was provided last week to the board and then to the public. So the bulk of the emails were addressing the lack of funds that were attributed to South Range in that report. So one of the things that I've discussed and other board members have discussed numerous times at different forums, whether it's here at the board meetings, workshops, or whatever, and we were outright asked that question directly 2 or 3 meetings ago. And rest assured, all emergency repairs will happen at South Range, regardless of what they are and when they're needed. And just to kind of further that point, we've talked a lot about the budget, and we have a bond coming off the books. It's a Barker Hood original bond. It's expiring. That will save the district $750,000 a year moving forward until we decide on new bonds. But for now, that's what it is. And then, closing Derry Village, there's a savings attached to that. We don't have the final number yet. We're going through the budget process. And I know I've asked the administration and Jane to provide a final documentation of that number. And, what I've said all along, going back to that June 20th meeting where a decision was made, that money will be reinvested in education and facilities. And when we say facilities, that includes South Range as well. What I would say is, I would rather pay for emergency repairs with cash than finance them over 20 years. Let's put that, and just to give you some examples, we had a boiler go a month ago, I think, or whatever it's been. We've replaced that. Last year before the winter, we did patchwork repairs on all the roofs in the district, all of them, $150,000 worth, to try to extend the life of those roofs so we don't have to spend whatever it is, $2 million on a new roof. So when you see this capital summary report and you don't see South Ranger, that's not saying that we don't care or whatever about the school. We just have other ways to fund repairs when they happen. And hopefully I've articulated pretty clearly what that looks like. And obviously we have we've committed as a board to a strong budget for facility expenditures beginning last year, and that will continue. So when you look at all 3 options there's plenty of funds to deal with any emergencies that may come up or emergency repairs that may come up. So I just wanted to, I assume that's on a lot of people's minds, and I get it, and I just wanted to clarify that before people start talking about it. And if you have questions about that, you can, obviously, but that's the thought process, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we would invite residents of Derry, students, as well as employees of the district, to come up and address the board. Get 3 minutes, 30 minutes in total. As this will be a reminder, please state your name and your address for the record. As as there may be multiple speakers, make sure you try to stay within the 3-minute time frame and understand that this is not really a question and answer session. However, after delegates and individuals, the individual board members will have a chance to respond to anybody that did come up and give any feedback or ask any questions. So with that, we would invite you to come up to the podium and kick us off.
Hey guys. So I just came out today because I've heard a lot of talk recently about the new school. There's obviously votes coming up about it. There's been, I feel like I've been hearing about the new school and the repairs to the old school since I moved here like 10 years ago. And I just wanted to say, I feel like a lot of times in this conversation, what is getting lost is the practicality of a new school. To get a new school, we'll need a 50, and I would be for a new school, but to get a new school, we're going to need a 50%, I believe a 50% vote from the people of the district. And I cannot in my wildest dreams see us getting that. And so my fear is that we are continuing to push and push and push against these repairs that need to be done. I know we talked about emergency repairs a second ago, non-emergency repairs. I mean, I read the reports. I got an email, as I'm sure anyone with a child in school did, about the unsafe lead levels in our school's water over the summer. And I'm worried that we're pushing these things down the road and hoping that we get a new school that's never going to appear, or will appear so far down the road, and in the meantime, there's going to be some kid who gets sick or hurt because we haven't taken into account the practicality of keeping the schools at where they need to be. That's all I wanted to say. I think that you guys are all doing a great job. I think you guys are all obviously care about our students and our children. And I just think a lot of times, from what I see, I don't see everything, but it's a lot of like, we need a new school or we don't get a new school, and there's not a lot. And every year that we put that vote out is another year that the repairs get pushed out. And so I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much for doing this, and I will see you around.
Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Good evening. I'm Anita Anthony, 52-year resident of Derry. I would like to address the board regarding comments and agendas from last board meeting. As every parent knows, COVID destroyed our children's sense of continuity, security, and community that our children enjoyed. Mr. Crawford's, at the last board meeting, you talked about the importance of belonging and what your thesis is going to be about. What study has the school board embarked on regarding the input of this restructuring plan will have on our children? Mr. Clapp made known that the school committee should exercise due diligence in procuring the best possible pricing for insurance. And I hear from you that you're very cost effective. Where is the due diligence of the plan in regards to the Derry tax rate? The town wants a new fire station, and almost certainly the police department is not far behind. The school board came forward last March with a bill of over $92 million that passed without a blink of an eye in the middle of a snowstorm. Have we even considered the busing of our youngsters across town and mixing with 8th graders? So South Range, East Derry, along with Barker, all keep their secure neighborhood schools, while Derry Village gets shifted about. For the sake of creating a campus costing over, $100 million, while you bemoan the pittance to repair and maintain our community asset without the community having the right to vote on it. Mr. Duggan's comment at the last board meeting still stings. No matter what, DVS is going to close. Well, I, for one, suggest that you bring this plan to the voting public since we will be footing the bill, and let them have a say what we as a community decide what to do with our asset. In closing, Derry Village is a neighborhood school that nurtures and embraces all aspects of the developing child. You all look upon this venture as bricks and mortar, but this very human and emotional issue, you may be out of sync with our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
My name is Laura McCormick. I'm from 3 Middle Ridge Road. I spoke at the end of last meeting as well, but I just had some more thoughts and wanted to bring them to the board. So my first is, what is wrong with the current K-5 structure that we need to make these major changes for our children? I heard a lot of talk about buildings last time and facilities and roofs and things like that, but nobody's actually talked about what this is going to impact our kids and how they're actually going to improve from this. You know, we talked a lot about your project that's coming up, you know, about belonging. How is that going to be prominent for these kids? How are they going to feel a sense of belonging if we're changing their school every other year? My daughter's in 3rd grade this year. She started last year. We moved to Derry for a better school district for her. Our sole point of moving was to move for this school district and move to this town for this. She's going to get to spend 2 years in Derry Village. She's going to be 1 at South Range, most likely. Then she'll be somewhere else for 5th and 6th, somewhere else for 7th and 8th, and then she'll be dumped into the high school for 4 years. That is a lot of change for any child. And I get that moving to this town was my decision, and that was our choice to do that to our child, to move her, but it was for her benefit. So how is this new plan going to benefit our children? How is this new structure going to affect them emotionally, and how is it going to impact them academically? And how are they possibly going to develop a good sense of belonging if we're changing their schools every 2 years? Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Driscoll, 24 Tanager Road. I do have a couple of questions. I'll ask my questions, and if you could address afterwards. One of them is capacity. So I was looking at the current enrollment numbers, and I wanted to know what the capacity for Hood, East Derry, and West Runningbrook are. From the current enrollment numbers, these schools are looking to have the highest increase in student population. For example, West Runningbrook right now has about 520 students, increasing with our 4th and 5th graders going into 5th and 6th next year to 650 students, which is a 24% increase in population. East Derry, for example, has 335 students going to over 400. Depending on the redistricting scenario, we go from either 21 to 28% increase. The other question I have for you is, with the major changes and the redistricting and the rearrangement of Hood and West Runningbrook, what are the plans to support the children with these changes emotionally, socially, and from an educational perspective? If the plan is yet unknown, what is the ETA to have that plan outlined?
Thank you, Kathleen.
Hi, my name is Catherine DeLay. I live at 39 South Main Street. I came here with a list of questions for you, kind of changing my mind on that. I just want to say I have lived in Derry since 1990. I have been here 1st through 12th grade.
Mommy.
I've decided to, made the very
Mommy.
conscious decision to raise my children in this town.
Mommy, oh my
Specifically going to Derry Village, as I went to Derry Village. And I'm really not sure how any of these changes are going to help our community. I understand that our schools need work. Fix them. Fix what we have. Why are we changing this? Why are we getting away from our neighborhood schools? Why do you want this big giant campus of a school? I don't see how that benefits our children. I think of long term. I was part of this community as a student. I brought back my children and I made sure that I'm raising my children here. Think long term. If our children don't have any sense of community, why are they going to stay here? Why are they going to raise their families here? Fix what we have. We don't need a new school. We don't need to make all of these changes. Fix what we've got. It's going to cost money. Going to cost money to do a new school. Fix the schools we have, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the board? Not seeing any, so at this point, I will close delegates and individuals. Thank you all for coming up here and voicing your concerns and your feedback and asking some questions at this time. I will open it up to the rest of the board members to have any responses, answer any questions, or, yeah. Don't all jump up at once. Paul, I know you're still there. Well, I'm assuming you're still there. I'll ask you, is there anything specific you want to respond to?
There, I've tried to get myself unmuted. Nothing specific. I know that the questions were posed about the size of the school if we do get a new school. The issue that we have is, as most of us know, is the fact that we have a plurality of schools that have overwhelming maintenance needs, and that may be probably the most efficient way to deal with it. I don't think that that has a necessarily like a quid pro quo where there's a direct response to a negative impact on the students. That's not to say that they may not be the best, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. But the issue is that we have, and we've discussed this ad nauseum, that the schools have languished in disrepair for some time. So, as we say, the chickens have come home to roost. The plans that we have before us that we agreed on, I think no one is completely, when I'm talking about no one, I think that no one on the board is completely pleased with everything that we have. I know I'm not, but it's the best we can do right now. I think the next thing we have to focus on, though, is to see how we're going to make out with a new school if we get one. The issue we had last time, I think, is we put all our eggs in one basket for that school, and then when it fell through, we had no real contingency plan to go back with. We're trying to do that now. But in any case, that was my only response that I formulated during the course of the questions that were posed.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
I do want to just say, even as strongly as I do support this new school, and I truly think that it is the best option economically and for our students and for the future of Derry, I recognize what everyone is saying here, and I do have to admit that I haven't necessarily loved the way that we jumped off on this, on our communication, I worry that, honestly, we need to be doing a better job at communicating what and why and how and the reasoning behind these decisions. I get that. How we do that, I think we really need to invest in this as a campaign, as we're doing mailers, we're visiting homes. We went to the assembly last week and, crap, what is the school name? I can't remember the school name. West River. And I was highly impressed by their method of communicating to their community and the steps that they took to get the trust, to get them to understand where and why we're doing the things that we're doing. And right now, I know that I'm sounding like a broken record, but we're not communicating it appropriately. And I empathize that this is a really big job and that it's a really complex job, and we're changing things and we're trying to figure out the best way to get this done. But I also recognize that we are not communicating to our facility staff, to our parents, to be able to have them come along with us in each of these steps. We can't just make all of the decisions and then come back and be like, okay, here's the recap, this is what's happening, and then expect everyone to vote on it. Like, we have to be able to say, hey, this is where we got to, this is why we're deciding this is the money to it. I know that that's scary, and I know that there's going to be some backlash of, oh, you said this or you said that, and that's not the full picture of what's going on here, but it's worth it because you're communicating more to the general population to understand where we're coming from this. And if we honestly can sit here, I know that I've heard multiple of you say, it's not going to pass this year, and I hate that. We shouldn't be like, oh, it's not going to pass this year. We should be like, this is why it needs to pass this year. And here's a mailer, and here's a one-pager, and I'll sit down with you and your 5 friends in your community and explain and answer exactly why that is. If we're not going to do that, then we need to reevaluate what we're doing here. I'm sorry. Like, I truly believe, yes, a new school is needed. But the way that we're doing it, it is not going to happen. So then why not just vote to revamp all of the buildings to 21st century and spend a crap load more than we need to and wait another 20 years to build a school? Is that necessarily what I want? No. But my point is we are equally evaluating this and trying to come up with the best solution going forward. The last 20 years, we have done absolutely nothing on it. We've dragged our reels. Yes, we've gotten data. I'm sorry, Brenda. I'm sorry. We did not do nothing. We did plenty. We've gotten to where we are here. I apologize, and I take that back. My point is this year and what we're doing now, we're trying to execute on everything that we've done the last 20 years, is a better way of saying it. That is messy, and that is hard, and that is complicated. Do we need to be communicating that better? I would say yes. How we do that, I just ask for some patience and some understanding in that we are doing the best that we can in a very complicated time. But I have no doubt that this board and this facility staff and every single teacher has the best interest of the students and this community in heart. And I wholeheartedly believe that through this process, each and every one of us up here is doing our absolute best to try to address this issue and actually come to some progress with it. So that's just what I want to say on this.
Oh, David?
So I was going to answer Nick's question, but I'm going to respond to what Karen just said just now. So as a facilities committee, we meet on a regular basis for multiple hours and agonize over the things we work on. And today is October 24th. The vote is in March, the first week of March. So I would like to say for my board member colleague here, it takes time. It takes time, and we're working on it. You may not like the speed of it, but it takes time to get all this done, and we're working on it. And this document right here is a huge step in that direction that the facility committee didn't come up with last year. So what I would say is, we're busting our ass. And when you say stuff like that, it just shows you have no idea what we're doing in our committee. And you should ask, you should ask us what we're doing and maybe come to a meeting and see what we're doing, because we're doing a hell of a lot. And when you say something like that, it's just like spitting in my face, our face, because we are working our ass off.
You're not communicating it to the community.
Not yet.
My point.
Not
That's
yet.
my problem, David.
It's October 24th.
Hey,
That's my problem.
Kearney, David. Guys, we need to continue to show decorum, treat each other with respect and
I'm
professionalism.
not saying you're not working hard. I'm not saying that you're not doing everything
Kearney,
that you need to do.
Kearney. Guys, when I step in, enough is enough. Moving on, is there anyone else that would like to respond to Brenda?
So I share your concerns about the social emotional aspect of this plan. I've said that over and over for 2 years, more this year. I have a lot of concerns about our children who are still suffering with anxiety and stress from COVID and the residual effects of COVID. Don't like that. I wish COVID never came, but it did, and we have to deal with it. We have a lot of children and a lot of staff who are trying to work through all those things. So I agree. I don't like all the transitions. It's not a secret. I don't like the plan. Do I think that we need repairs? Yes. Are they costly? Yes. Do I think that all of you that live in this community should have the right to vote on what it is that you're going to spend your tax dollars on? Yes. You might not like the answer, but I think it's fair for you to be able to vote on that. I don't actually remember any of the other questions, but I really want to address the social emotional piece because I am very concerned about it. And the more we hear about the lasting effects of COVID and how long it will take children to catch up. Right now, we believe it's a 3 to 5 year window, but that may not be what it is when we get down the road a couple of more years, or even at the end of this year. So that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, I was just going to address, he was saying about, the plan. I mean, there is a lot of work that goes into it, and we are on schedule. We're going to be presenting the capital improvement plan that our maintenance department's been working on tonight. We have 2 scheduled upcoming meetings to present the plans on the new school. It does take time. It's all on the calendar, and like you said, the vote's in March. So, we have many months to get all this out, get everything communicated, and we are on that track. One thing I wanted to address was the question about the capacities of the schools. So the map that the administration is going to be speaking to later, I mean, the initial numbers we had on it at each of the elementaries at about 80% capacity. And I know you guys could probably speak better to where the capacities of the intermediate and middle schools will be next year. But I think we're where we want to be. I mean, we're not talking about being over capacity or anything like that. The way that things will be shifted around, will all fall into place. Do you agree, Joe?
So, I mean, I would say, yeah, from the administration's perspective, we believe that all the buildings have the capacity to handle the sort of enrollment projections that we're looking at. I guess I could end there. Both West Running Brook and Hood have had far larger populations in them, but that's not to say that we want those. I mean, we've talked about how, when Austin and I worked at Hood, Laura also, I'm trying to think, anybody else here in the room? Dave, maybe? There was a day where we were close to 1,000 students at Hood, and I don't think anybody wants to go back to 1,000 students at Hood, but yeah, Hood is far and away the largest of our facilities in terms of space. When we look at the shrinking enrollment over the years, it's most prominent at Hood in West Running Brook. I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about how Barca is the largest school in the district right now. That is pretty unusual. I think it's the first time, Brenda, I think you brought it up, right? It's the first time that I can remember, and I've been here 24 years. That's longer than Barca's been around, but I don't remember Barca ever being the largest school. But when I went back and I looked at Barca's enrollment reports, this year is not even close to Barca's peak. Barca has been much bigger than it is right now. I think what sticks out like a sore thumb is Hood and West Running Brook have never been this small. So relatively speaking, it's definitely a weird dynamic, and I don't know if that's part of the issue where, I think it's important that we take a look at all these facilities things. That was a long answer to your question, Michael, so I just want to stop talking. I can answer any others.
More information is better.
Jason?
The one thing I want to address is the comments that I continue to hear and see of us not being in tune or in touch and not thinking about what's happening in the community. And it's sometimes I take it personally because A, I'm a taxpayer, B, I'm a parent of a student in the district. And when we sit down and look at these things, we're looking at the whole picture, right? And a couple people have brought up the sense of belonging, and the new model, the great thing is, yes, there is transition.
the kids are going to be together, right? So their friend groups, their peer groups, they're going to travel throughout the entire district together. They'll be commingling with kids that they wouldn't have had a chance, and they're going to be together, right? Listen, and I.
Sorry, no, I apologize, but our board member is speaking, and I'm going to let Jason finish his comment.
The one thing, I'll finish it here. We care. I know the sentiment is that we don't, but as a parent and as a taxpayer in the community, my child's education and the taxes that I pay every year are definitely a top priority. I'll speak for myself there, and I'll end there.
All right. Yes, I feel like my fellow board members have covered most of the things that that had questions about. I know there was mention about unsafe lead levels. Just to make sure we're clear on that, Austin, can you verify that A, there's been no kids that have been affected by that, and B, that this problem has been taken care of? Or it's in the process of being taken care of? The unsafe lead levels in our drinking water?
Yes.
Thank you. So that was a direct question regarding that. I think Michael covered the capacities. I know there's discussions about, over the last 20 years, what has our populations looked like, and this is really what precipitated the change from a K through 5 elementary to a K through 4, because there is less popular, I guess, there was more space in the elementary schools than there are in the middle schools, so that precipitated that. But also, over the last 20 years, our student enrollment has dropped by about 25%, and our entire population in Derry has flatlined. So even though we've seen a 25% decrease in our student population, our actual population in Derry stayed the same, which means that, to the chagrin of many people, it is still true that families are having less children than they were 20, 30 years ago, and the schools that we built, 30, 40 years ago, that were for this big boom of population, we are, to be frank, no longer are needed. Now, again, it does give us some flexibility, but that's just the capacity piece. As far as consideration for social emotional learning, we had not only Joe, our assistant superintendent, but we had teachers come and talk about some of the things that they will be doing and some of the changes that we will be making, which include recess for our 5th and 6th graders. So 5th graders are not losing that, and 6th graders are gaining that. As well as additional social emotional learning. And then as far as busing goes, again, yes, we have considered it. We talk about it countlessly. It's not just in these meetings that we talk about these things. It's also the administration that is talking about these things for countless hours outside of these meetings, as well as the committee meetings that we do have as well. I would say at this point, if you are still not comfortable or not confident with the information that you have, there are tons of resources. There are more to come. We will communicate those. But the best resource, I believe, right now that we have is our restructuring website, which there was an update that I believe went out on Friday, which covers all of the updates that are coming. So if you are at your computer or you are holding your phone right now, you can go to sau10.org and you can find all that information at your fingertips. So please do. And please, if you still have questions, please contact the administration. What is it, 432-1210? That's the number for the administration. If you reach out to me, I have always and will continue to give out my cell phone number to have a direct communication with any of you. I believe many of my school board colleagues also do the same. And so if you're looking to have a conversation, let's have a conversation, and let's go through that, because all of these things can't be rehashed in one 2 to 3 hour meeting, because these are conversations that have been existing in our town and in our district for double-digit years. And so as we are trying to figure out solutions, not just come with problems, we have found the problem and we are trying to find a solution for it. I would hope anybody that's in the public would do the same as well. So if you do have a problem, please come with a solution, or come with open ears to have a conversation regarding those problems as well. With that,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to talk.
Okay, Anthony?
So I don't know her name, but she was cut off. She wanted to say, my third grader will be at SRS next year with a handful of her friends she has had for the last 4 years, and she will be moved around, I'm guessing. Okay. And because it's very evident that this board isn't going to listen to the public, you can feel free to message me
Hey,
on
Anthony,
Facebook.
Anthony, so if you're going to disparage us, I'm going to ask you to not speak, because, you know, we sit up here and we listen to everyone, including you. Okay, we're going to move on. Correct.
John?
We're going to,
It's an individual.
John?
And then next time we have a meeting, we'll answer the questions so that we can talk about them and formulate some answers instead of getting into this back and forth thing that keeps happening. I have no problem moving delegates and individuals to this section, but let's do it according to the laws, which say it is a chance for these people to speak their mind only during delegates and individuals. Then we shut it down. We come back at the next school board meeting.
You need your mic on.
You can't hear me? I can. We come back at the next school board meeting. If we have answers, we do it as a full school board rather than individuals on the school board, because that's also what the laws say is not supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be talking individually for the school board. So I'm glad we moved this, but the idea is supposed to be, you talk to us, you give us questions, you give us information, then we go back and formulate answers and so forth, and we bring that back, and we give answers to what we need to give answers to. But this, we can't keep doing this at these school board meetings. We're gonna be here till midnight arguing back and forth, and it's not the way it's supposed to be.
all right, with that, we'll move on to the restructuring plan conversation, and I believe Joe is going to take the mic.
All right, so I'm going to try to minimize the Zoom screen and pull up my thing here, but I'm not necessarily the right person to do it, but I'm filling in for Cliff today. Upper right-hand corner. Oh, I'm wearing my glasses and I can't see far away. There we go. All right. So we'll see if I can get signed back into the interwebs. Thanks for staying tuned, everybody. I'm sure I'm going to put my password in. Excellent. Oh, I've got to go over there. Perfect. I'll be right back. See if it shows up. See if I remember it. Nope. We miss you, Cliff. There we go. Hey. All right. So let's see if I can pull up this. Whew, there we go. Thank you all. This is fun. All right, so we wanted to kind of go over the elementary school residency zones kind of process with everybody. I think we shared some of this information in the packet, so hopefully people can access it, because I know there is a lot of information on these slides. So first off, I know the board knows this, but it's important that kind of we just remind ourselves the process that we went through. So we worked with a company called Davis Demographics to provide kind of technical and logistical assistance, helping us transition from 5 elementary school zones to 4. Davis facilitated a workshop with administration to kind of look at all of the different factors that affect kind of the populations, the elementary school zones. We used that time to kind of refine into 3 potential options that we think could work. We eventually, we held a second workshop where we invited members from the town, so members, officials, town officials, parents, teachers, other administrators, and we presented, really Davis Demographics presented those 3 map options and kind of took some feedback from people. We made some refinements or changes to those options based on the conversations in that meeting, and then we posted them online for let me see, when did I say here? On Friday, September 22nd, we posted them online with a survey so we could get some feedback from the community. So we received a total of 24 questions and 88 comments from a total of 113 different submissions. If you're doing the math there and realize that doesn't add up, it's because some people did more than one. It was one submission, but they had questions and comments as well. What we did is we tried to develop answers to as many of the questions as we could, and we put them on the restructuring website. There's a frequently asked questions section, so we attempted to do, address as many of those questions that at least we could address in public. And then we reviewed every single comment, and we kind of categorized them into their primary concerns or suggestions. There were some people that just said, I like this map, I like this map, I don't like this map. Overwhelmingly, so once we sort of analyzed that, overwhelmingly the support that we received in a positive format was for the blue map. So there were 3 maps that were proposed. They were colors. Now I'm going to forget. I want to say it was blue, pink, orange, but it could have been blue, orange. Is it blue, pink, orange? Is that what people are looking at? Okay, great. So we are here tonight proposing to you all that we think the blue map is probably the one that we should go with. That's our recommendation, and that's based on looking at the feedback from members of the community and talking as a team. We heard tonight already some people were concerned about bus rides through town, and we know that the geography of our town is not ideal in that population is not dispersed equally. So that means the whole eastern side of the town, which is mostly East Derry Elementary School, homes are very spread out. People are spread out there. And then on the western, especially the southwestern section of Derry, is much, much more densely packed. So the blue map was the map that had the most, if this is a word, contiguous geography, where we tried to keep our zones as close as possible. We definitely had to balance, the capacity of the schools, and we also wanted to maintain the existing boundaries of the other schools. I think I hit most of the spots there. So what we are here to do tonight is obviously to make the recommendation to the board to make a decision about the elementary zones. Once the board votes for a map, we will then take the new zones and create residence or basically enrollment lists for all of our students for next year, which is really, really important for assigning staff to the elementary schools. Because not only do we need to know how many children are going to be in each of these schools, we need to know how many second graders, how many third graders, which students with, who need to be in specific programs. So there's a lot of planning that goes along with knowing these zones. So our goal is obviously to use this to kind of refine the teacher assignments that we've been working on, and then really begin planning transition activities for students. So as has been mentioned, obviously the Derry Village students will be going to a new school, so we need to plan transition activities for all of those students and families, but we also have other students who are going to be going to the 5-6 school or to the 7-8 school. So we have lots of transition activities in plan for the 2024 calendar year, both team building activities, some work with staff members, and some evening events and things for parents. I think that's it on my slides. Does anybody have questions?
I just have a couple. Why were the other maps discarded? Was there any key, like, okay, we really didn't like this, and this was something that we really liked in the blue model? And is there going to be any impact on the workload for teacher and staff with this model, as well as was there the option to keep kids in, not having to split that school into so many different options of the other schools? Was there a way where it was still productive to get them into one or two different schools rather than split them up into 3 or 4 different ones?
Okay, I'll try to answer those in order, but I may miss some because there were a few. So we identified the blue map because, so among all those, I think it was 88 comments, there were a number of very specific comments about splitting up neighborhoods. And when we went through and we kind of analyzed those concerns were largely connected to the other 2 maps. The other 2 maps were less geographically consistent, and which obviously poses problems for neighborhoods, right? So this map, the benefit was it kept people more closely tied to the school that was nearest them, and it didn't divide as many neighborhoods. I think you asked a question about will this
Joe?
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The number of people who made comments and voted on a zone, and there was more people that voted for blue than all of the others put together, I believe.
That is correct. Yeah, it wasn't even a close race in terms of
Thank you for adding
the
that.
feedback. Now, I mean, there were people that had concerns with the blue map. There were people that had concerns with all of the maps, certainly. In terms of, I think you had a question about our teacher workloads going to be increased based on going the blue map?
How will the blue map impact the workload of teachers and staff at each school?
So I'm struggling to understand how to answer that. I don't foresee anything about the blue map that has a detrimental effect on teachers' workloads. I think we now have to reallocate staff to the schools based on the enrollment realities related to the blue map. So if you remember the 3 maps, in each map there were numbers of students that were going to each of the schools, and those varied depending on the whatever map we chose. So I wouldn't say that this map provides or creates any additional workload on teachers. I think we do need to come together as a group and make some final decisions about assigning staff. But until that happens, this is the first important next step.
Along those lines, we will be maintaining class sizes, school board.
Thank you.
Maximum class sizes.
That was kind of the core of my question.
Okay, and I think that was that's on our frequently asked questions page. I think somebody had asked, what will happen to class sizes? And we actually used the class size goals from 2 years ago, the lower class size goals, to make this determination. So I think the board raised the class size goals by 1 last year, and we reverted back to the lower goals. There was a third question in there. I don't remember it. Sorry.
Oh, I have like 12 questions here. You're good. Because I can't remember.
If it comes back up, you can certainly.
Yeah, I'm good. I think you answered it in one of the other ones.
Okay.
I had a question and kind of a comment. My question is, you kind of alluded to it, that you had, some people who, commented on, how specific neighborhoods were divided in the map. And that was kind of the gist that I got at the stakeholder meeting, that the whole point of the public comment sort of was. Yeah. So do you anticipate making any, slight changes to the blue scenario to accommodate any of the comments that we got?
So I don't think that we're not recommending any changes to the blue map based on those comments. The really specific comments about this street and this street and this street, those were all dealt with by choosing the blue map. Mm-hmm. Now, there were some more generalized comments, for instance, that said things like, I'll just speak generally, I'm not going to use anybody's name, but in general, Stark Road is a very long road in our district. It's currently parts of Stark Road go to one school, parts of Stark Road go to another school. Because of the nature of the length that it shoots out east, that still is going to be, there are going to be people on the southwestern side of Stark are going to go to a different school than people on the northeast or on the eastern side of Stark. That is currently the case. I think that's probably always been the case. So it was impossible to take an entire road, because some of our roads do traverse the entire west to east or north to south. So there were some specific pieces that were not fixable in really any of the maps. We still looked at it, we talked about it, but we're not proposing any changes. We're obviously open-minded. It's your all decision, but yeah.
And my comment sort of was, for the blue scenario, when we talk about building a new school, the Derry Village site is not in the South Range District, but it's right across the street. So, if the time comes that we do build a new school, theoretically, there should be minimal, redistricting, I would imagine.
Theoretically. Kim loves it when I say the devil's in the details. That's why we like to get Davis Demographics involved. But yeah, I would agree that sort of the South Range and Derry Village geographically share a pretty similar sort of patch of the town. So yeah.
Connie's other question was about redistrict Derry Village to 3 schools instead of 4 schools. Some people were concerned because there'd be more of a chance if Derry Village was redistricted into 3 schools than 4, there's more of a chance that their friend would go with them. Let me just say about the whole friend thing, if somebody petitions the superintendent to move their child because of friends, it never happens. I've noticed many a time, not just elementary school, but middle school, friends today are enemies tomorrow, and enemies today are friends tomorrow, and that's part of the growing up process, and those things change. And it has a lot to do with the enrollment and fairness in the enrollment, making sure that we're not raising 3 schools dramatically and then leaving another school with a much smaller amount of students. So it was about, again, one of the reasons, one of the many reasons, but an important reason that Derry Village was chosen was that it bordered all 4 of the other schools. So that's the reason. For those reasons, we didn't do 3 instead of, we did 4 instead of 3. And what was your question about transportation?
I just wanted to know if this directly affects transportation and busing in any dramatic way that we can foresee right now.
So one of the nice parts of the blue map, because geographically the schools are really close to the neighborhoods, we don't anticipate huge changes in busing issues. In fact, one of the most common attacks, the other 2 maps where, I live in this neighborhood and I'm driving across the town to go to this school, I have to almost pass another school on the way. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that does happen for some small example, families, and just because of the way our town is laid out, it's so densely populated.
I can attest to that. My son goes to Grinnell, which is the 3rd closest elementary school to my house.
Yeah.
Soon to be 2nd?
Yes, soon to be 2nd.
Thank you for answering those. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I wanted to kind of comment too, the idea of splitting out, Derry Village into fewer schools, is that the idea is that the population of Derry Village is going to fill out the capacity in the other schools that's opened up by moving out the 5th grade and the existing capacity that is in some of them. If you split them out into fewer schools, then you're going to be pushing kids that are currently going to those schools that are remaining open out into another school. So, let's, for instance, let's just say for sake of example, you just send the Derry Village kids to South Range and East Derry, and South Range, East Derry, and Grinnell. Well, you're going to push, some of the students that are maybe currently going to Grinnell or currently going to East Derry to now have to go to Barca. So that kind of sets a chain reaction off, where you're moving kids out of a school that they could be staying in, whereas all of the Derry Village kids are going to a new school no matter what.
Brenda, I believe you had a comment?
How many people did give feedback?
I think it was 113. Well, let me just scroll back up here. What did I say? Yeah, those are individual submissions. There were 113 individual. No, that's okay. It's a good question. And the survey allowed you to put a comment, a question, or a comment and a question. So there were 113 unique people that visited and submitted something, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I also just want to clarify something. When you were talking about Derry Village students, you said they'll go to a new school. People assume that that means that those kids are going to go to a new school in September, and that's false. They're going to a different school. If a new school goes on a ballot and it passes, children will go to a new school, but there's no guarantee of who's going to go to the new school. And I answer that question a lot, and I want people to be clear that there's not a new school that's going to open in September. They will go to different schools in Derry.
Good clarification. I'm glad you said that.
Paul, I'll ask you if you have any questions for Joe.
Thoughts? Thank you, though.
Okay. Jason, David?
Good, thanks.
I have a lot of similar questions to Kearney and Michael and Brenda, I believe. One question I did have is what consideration, or how did we consider these maps with the potential new school, especially since it's on the ballot? Like, what kind of consideration was given should a new school get passed come March?
So I would say we try not to leverage too many ifs then relationships, because it does get tenuous the more if thens you make. But as Michael kind of alluded to, the map that we're recommending here is really gonna centralize a lot of students around geographic center of closest to their school. It's not perfect, Michael, I know. And if the board and the town decide to build a new school at the site of Derry Village and close South Range, then that site is very, very close to, and I without calling out any specific neighborhoods, there's a large neighborhood that is right across the street from, or right down the street, across the street from Derry Village. This map keeps that large neighborhood together and at South Range, which is geographically much closer than the other options that were available. So I think thinking ahead, if that happens and South Range is closed, that neighborhood stays intact and likely, there's a lot of factors that could play, likely could move right back to that location that's across the street.
Thank you. All right. Not seeing any other questions. So like Joe said in the presentation, now that we've had this, we've been considering it, and this is the point of the process where I would entertain a motion to either accept or I guess potentially reject or come up with some alternative. So does anyone have a motion to accept the and I'm gonna preface this as well. I'll be honest, I think we've made this decision already when we asked the school, the district to do the reconfiguration. Part of that is this process of redistricting. So that was my individual thought. I didn't necessarily think it needed a vote, but I think it's appropriate given the circumstances. So yeah, with that, I would entertain a motion to accept.
Move to accept the administration's proposal of the blue map.
All right, we have a first by Jason.
I'll second that.
Second by Kearney. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Paul, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
All right, Kearney,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Brenda? No. Board votes yes, motion passes 6-1. At this point, we will move on in the agenda to the facilities discussion. And we will get started with the capital improvements. I believe you'll see an attachment online. And I don't know if the facilities committee or if Jane, we'll start with Jane. We'll get started with you and we will go through that. And then we'll open up to questions or comments from the board.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, so in the board packet, we included a capital improvement plan for a three-phase plan, which would be phase 1, 2, and 3, and it would be over a number of years for East Derry, Barca, Gilbert H. Hood, Grinnell, and West Running Brook. The majority of these costs and areas of improvement were taken from the La Valley report and the Jobin report, as well as walkthroughs through the school with Rob and Jeremy, who obviously know the schools and know some areas that may need to be improved upon, or things that have presented themselves that need improvement since those original 2 reports were done. So if we look at the first page, it's a summary by school with the 3 phases and the total for each one of those schools, as well as a total of what we'd be proposing for a bond, which would be $31,968,440. We did include the 15% of construction management, 15% soft costs, and 10% contingency. And those estimates were an industry standard that we would need. You'd need to have somebody obviously supervising a lot of these projects, having, you could refer to it as a clerk of the works, or a project manager overseeing a lot of the projects that we have. So page 1 is just a summary of all of the areas that we're proposing, and the subsequent 3 pages are identifying the individual areas and the time span that we're looking for that would need improvement. Again, these go back to the estimates from La Valley and Jobin, and they are the ones that determined how many years out that each of these projects potentially should go, so that when you're working on them, you know that if there is a roof on here, we've already done had an engineer, we had ARM come out, look at the roofs. They did a replacement schedule or repair schedule. So those are all in here based on phase and the year that those things that should be replaced or repaired. So when you look at phase 1 is what we're looking at needing to do within 1 to 3 years. And those would potentially start July 1 of 2024. So you can see the 5 school: East Derry, West Running Brook, Gilbert H. Hood, Grinnell, and Barca. Just to highlight some of the things, we're talking about fire alarm replacements, the project that I mentioned at the last meeting, the concrete banding around the building at West Running Brook. If you're looking at Gilbert H. Hood, updating the electrical systems in the 51 building, replacing windows in the 51 area, and several of the schools installing generators. We don't have generators in the majority of our schools, even if they're installed to just maintain the heat and lights and things like that. Replacing exterior windows, looking at the sprinkler system investigations. And then we go into phase 2, and this is years 2 through 4. And again, the same schools that we would be looking at, and that would be doing electrical upgrades, casework throughout all of the buildings, floor replacement, interior and exterior doors, electrical upgrades, ceiling treatments. And in phase 3, we're looking at years 3 to 5. And for example, East Derry, one of the recommendations was installing a sprinkler system, replacing the roof, doing paving. West Runnybrook having flooring replacement, replacing the ceiling treatments. Gilbert H. Hood adding lighting for the parking lot, security upgrades. Grinnell flooring replacement, replacing the prefab addition. And Barca security upgrades, replacing the generator, fire alarm replacement. Those are some of the things that we would be looking at. So each area is identified and can be tied back to the reports that we have. I know there have been questions on work that has already been done. Anything that's already been done is obviously not going to be on this list. These are all new projects that we're looking to fund through a bond. Projects that we have in the works right now. Jeremy's been working on getting, he's met with engineers for the sprinkler system at West Runnybrook, so he has an engineer for that. And the engineer is just basically designing the replacement system, and then the actual project would go out to bid for whomever is going to replace that system. Also, the fire alarm system at East Derry, he's been working with an engineer on that project, and that will be coming forward to the board. The cost for the engineers for those would be coming from the $700,000 that we did put in a capital reserve account. And we're also working on the roof designs for West Runnybrook and Barca. Remember, those are also part of one of the capital improvement projects, capital improvement funds, the $1.8 million that we did set aside from last year's unreserved fund balance. So a lot of those things are in the works already and that are not included in these phases. And there was a lot of work even done prior to these. We had done the lobby renovations, the Honeywell HVAC upgrades. So a lot has been done in the building. And each year we've always done flooring replacement, door replacement, repairs of windows, security upgrades. So there are a lot of things that have been done on a yearly basis. But in order to tackle the things that are really necessary to maintain the integrity of all of our buildings, we're proposing the warrant article that would hopefully address all of the major projects that have been identified by the engineers for the school district. Does anybody on the committee or board have questions about that?
I've got one thing to add just with regards to the three-phase plan, that the warrant article would be for the total that Jane outlined, 31,968, but it would be spread out over subsequent 3 years to reduce that first year tax impact. And you see through the individual schools with the phases how it would be broken out by year, just to kind of clarify that. So it would be one warrant article, one vote, but the bonds would be over the 3 years.
And if the board were to vote to move this warrant article forward for us to investigate that, we would be working with bond counsel to draft the warrant article so that we could bring it to the board so that you could see what that phase-in plan would look like for financing.
I had a question and I guess a comment, so I'll cover them both at the same time. And I know I've been beating this dead horse now for a couple of years, but on the fire suppression systems, the sprinklers, it's specifically at Grinnell, it's allocated at $500,000, but that's in year 3. Now, in year 3, the price of that is not going to be $500,000, and it's not because it's going to be cheaper. And in the meantime, of course, we don't have that, the advantage of having that system in place. I'm just wondering why we didn't move that up to an earlier point, year 1 or 2. That's my question. And my second, well, I'll let you answer that first before I go on.
Thanks, Paul, for the question. You can actually, some of these could be interchangeable. That building is grandfathered. It is not required to have a sprinkler system, although it was identified in La Valley because it didn't have one. Same thing with East Derry. And I think when we were looking at it for the phase-in, we had areas that were identified that were not that a sprinkler system's not important, obviously one is, but that we had identified areas that were more immediate that needed to be taken care of. Now, if the board wanted to shift those around in the area of priority, they could certainly do that. We have not gone to an engineer and designed a sprinkler system for that, and so that's where we are on that.
Okay, thank you. I don't like hearing about grandfathering because I happen to know why the NFPA grandfathers things in, and it's not because of safety. It's because of productivity and commercial establishments. But nonetheless, that's the lot that we have dealt to us. But I don't think that we should languish on the fact that if we don't have to, it means it's any safer, because it's not. But nonetheless, thank you very much for your response on that. That's very helpful. And my other comment, I guess, is that, and I found out, thank you, David, for your explanation earlier in the meeting, was that one of the reasons that there's no delineation of work to be done, specific projects to be done on South Range, is because the decision was made to take any work to be done for South Range out of a reserve account or out of the operating budget, one of the two, and this is just an allocation based upon a bond issue. So I understand that, but my 2 cents worth is that I think that we still need to establish a schedule of some type of maintenance for South Range, as long as there are going to be students in there. I think that it's going to be, with the wind at our back and everything going perfectly, let's face it, we're not going to be starting any construction for 2 to 3 years on anything, and likely it may be more. So we're going to have students in there for that amount of time, and I understand, Dave, what you said as far as taking care of emergencies, but I don't want to think about the fact that, well, if a roof caves in, we'll fix it then. Well, we're not going to have any choice in that matter, no matter where it is. I think that we need to look at things. Certainly, we're not going to, if the long-term plan is to replace that school, then obviously you're not going to do large infrastructure, permanent infrastructure projects on it. But I think that some improvements should be scheduled so that we can have a timeline to plan on as far as that goes. But that was my comment and my question. Thank you very much.
Jane, I gave you a list that I had come up with on things that had been repaired or replaced or renovated over the past so many years that I could remember. Any idea when I might see the rest of that list that I don't know about?
Sure, and I shared that with both Jeremy and Rob, and the initial, anything that was on La Valley or Jobin that they had worked on, or flooring, they're tracking that and keeping off of their list. You had a pretty extensive list and great memory of all the things that we've done. So I have been working with Jeremy on that, but they are trying to find more historical things that have been done. A lot of the things, and like what Paul just mentioned, having a maintenance schedule even for South Range, we're going to replace carpet if it's a safety issue. We're going to fix roofing. We just had a roofing issue at South Range that we just had fixed. And anything that's going to go anything that's going to be a safety issue in that building, we will take care of. And maintenance is over there every day, walking through that building, just like they are every school, and it's not going to be overlooked. But they are working on that. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily, even though we use school dude a lot, the repair items or the maintenance improvement are just things that they do every year. So they're just trying to find all of the work that they've been doing.
And honestly, my reason for doing that was more not so much carpet and tile replacement, because that does happen in paint, but the repairs that have been done over the years, the things that have, you know, like the wall of windows at Easter. I can't remember what else on that list because it took me a little while to remember a lot of things, but you know, like those major things that have been done, leach fields replaced, like those kind of things that had to be done, that have been done, that, you know, just like your own house, if you have to replace a leach field, you don't really want to do it, and you don't even really look at it, it's done and it's over, but you don't realize it, you don't notice it, and you don't recognize the cost either, or the impact that it has to a school.
Right.
I remember the problems at East Derry. My kids were there.
And let's not forget, we also did a utility conversion. So we switched our schools over to natural gas, and that was multiple schools were all converted and part of the Honeywell project. So that was a huge change to the district. Most recently, we turned over from a well at East Derry to being on public water. And that was one of the reasons they never had a sprinkler system, because the well would not support a sprinkler system with a building that size. And also, we just most recently did the water upgrade project at Grinnell. And that was a project that was a long time coming. Now, the project at East Derry, both Jeremy and I worked on a grant, and so that fully paid for that project of $150,000. So, you know, whenever we can find resources to help pay for and offset some of these repairs. And, you know, Jeremy's been here 5 years, so there's a lot of information that left with our district when Gary and Paul both left. So we are trying to find a lot of the work that was done.
One of the days that I sat with Jeremy after we got the lead letter, I sat with him for a long time, and he just kept shaking his head. He said, I've learned so much about this district just talking to you. So maybe it'd be good to talk to Gary and find out what was done before, because I don't know everything. Obviously, I don't know everything.
I have a question about, so I know, Jane, you mentioned all the things that we're continuing to do, like HVAC, roofs, sprinkler system, that's great. My question is, so this total is $32 million. What got left off of this list? I know it's a loaded question, but is there is there a dollar figure that you guys are looking at, or some things that, you know, I imagine that we have compromised on, or we had to, you know, say, you know, maybe once we get done this, then we can start planning on that stuff. So I guess, yeah, what are some things that that aren't on here that were considered as well?
We tried to include everything that was considered and everything that was on Jobin and LaValle's list. I think that some things that aren't going to be on there are going to be specific projects. For example, next year we're going to put in a playground at West Runningbrook. That's not on a bond, but that's going to require excavating, and you know, that's a decent size amount project. There are going to be things that are going to come up yearly that we may need to do that just aren't on this list. So, but for the most part, Jeremy and Rob went through the entire presentation of LaValle and Jobin, and also looked at things that they have run into most recently, and they added it to the list. Their direction was clear that we didn't want to have to come back to a board of the public to ask for more money for these specific projects, and that we wanted to get them all included in one bond. But that doesn't mean that every year we're not going to have new things that may be on there that we didn't think of today. Fencing may need to be replaced. We tried to put parking lots in there, but you know, something is going to be on a phase-out plan after 6 years. Parking lots are going to need to be replaced. Things like that may just have to be done. Now, somebody mentioned Lead and South Range or any of those schools. There's plumbing in here. So again, if any of those levels test higher than the state recommended levels, plumbing gets replaced or the plumbing is shut off in those areas. So, every year we're going to have to continue to do those things. Some things are too small that you wouldn't put them out on a bond. They have to have a lifespan in order to do that.
Any other questions, or anyone from facilities want to add any more details or comments?
I just want to thank Jeremy and Rob and Jane for all of the work that they put into putting this together. I know there was a lot of back and forth with the committee and that team, and us asking for things, and hey, we need this, we want to see this. To Kearney's earlier point of crystal clear kind of communication and outline of a long-term strategic plan as it relates to capital improvements, not just repairs and Band-Aids. How do we make significant investment into our buildings that's gonna last and give us some additional lifespan and improve the environment for the kids and for the staff in the schools? So thanks to you guys, much appreciated, and the administration, and so, thank you.
I also wanted to say too that, I mean, we have to acknowledge that there is always work being done at the schools. I mean, these guys, work their butts off all the time trying to keep up, with these aging buildings. I mean, anybody who owns a home knows that, the older your home is, the less maintenance that's been done over the years on it, the more things are bound to go wrong and need attention that you're not even going to anticipate. And I mean, that is the situation that we are in right now. I mean, you look at these numbers up here of the amount of work that has accumulated. I mean, we're obviously, we're doing things, but we're obviously not doing enough. So, this bond will at least allow us to reset a little, get these things done to the point where that maintaining these schools is manageable, for our staff. Because I mean, it's approaching an unmanageable point.
Sorry, I just came up, I had another question. So I know this goes back to things that we've already committed to, right? So the roofs, HVAC, sprinkler system, is there a rough estimate? I've got HVAC around $5 million. Is that for the Honeywell for ESSER funds around $5 million? The roofs are around $2.5 million that we've already committed to? 0.8 plus 700?
Yeah, so, yeah.
And there's some other things in there as well. So there's about $7.5 million not included in this $32 million that we have right here, right? Not including 2 of our elementary schools. Okay, just want to make sure. Thanks.
Jane, I have one unrelated question that I didn't want to forget. When Floyd was closed, was there a vote in the town to close that school? I wasn't living here, so I just want to know if my own knowledge.
I was here. I was part of that project, and I don't know, but I do have the history of it at the office that we would know.
All right, so from here, I guess kind of what the next steps in this process would be to have,
Yeah, so
next steps,
I think if we move this forward tonight, as Jane said, we work with the lawyers because this is a little bit different than our typical bonds that we would do. As Jason mentioned, it's a 3-phase, so realistically, you can't spend $32 million in 3 years with, it's just not going to happen, right? So that's why first off, that makes sense to phase it. And Jane and I talked to the lawyers a while back, and Jason brought it up in our committee that Salem did a similar thing where they took out a bond and they got the money over 3 years. So this case, call it, I don't know, what is it? Almost $10 million the first year, 10.3 the second year, and 11.9 the third year. So. And as Jason said, you pick up a little bit of savings from a tax rate perspective in the early years, but eventually it catches up. But so the next steps are, if we agree tonight, move forward. We work with bond counsel, the lawyers, they set up the documentation, and then obviously work with the bond counsel, as Jane mentioned.
Will we know any tax impact implications until we talk to them?
Good question. Very good question. So as we start to work with the lawyers, we'll start to formulate those numbers. Because if you remember last year, we had a meeting, during our budget process, we had a meeting, and the lady from New Hampshire Bond Bank came in, and they have to go through each one of these replacements and figure out the useful life. So you can't just take the total 9.8 and say, hey, what's the amortization on this, or whatever interest rate. Each one of these projects has a different lifespan that they have to calculate and figure out as they calculate that number for us. Obviously, something like West Runningbrook replaced concrete banding around a building, it's a really long lifespan compared to maybe, I don't know, paving kind of thing. So once we have that information, that's definitely something we can definitely share.
So Jane, do you need a vote from us tonight to start having those conversations with the bond people? And then so we could kind of, I guess, what do you need from us tonight?
Well, we can have those conversations without a vote, but I think having a vote tonight would give us a direction to which way to move forward so that we're prepared as we go into, the sooner we can share with the public what the warrant article would look like. And I think that would be helpful tonight, if you could do that.
Okay. Well, then I would entertain a motion to move forward with the capital improvement plan from the administration. If anybody wants to make that motion.
Move to accept the capital improvement plan from the administration, the three-phase plan.
Okay, I have a first by Jason.
Second.
Second by Kearney. Any further discussion? Paul, anything? Oh, Brenda.
So I'm actually really glad to see this plan because it's what I've been asking for since 2017, to do what Salem did. What I'm disappointed about is that we're missing 2 schools, or at least 1 school if we're going to build another school. But I'm really glad to see it's here, finally.
Any other discussion on this? All right, I will take a roll call vote. Paul, you're up first.
Yes.
Kearney?
Yeah.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Brenda?
And I'm going to vote yes and hope that there's another plan for the other schools moving forward.
The chair votes yes. Motion passes 7-0. Jane, we'll look forward to an update at an upcoming meeting on that then. Thank you. And yes, I'd like to echo Jason and David and Michael's gratitude to the facilities team and Jane and everyone else that was involved in that, and also you three. I know, again, like you said, you guys have been putting in time and meeting, I think, bi-weekly, and that's not generally a normal occurrence. I think, the 3 years, I don't think we've had any other committee meet that frequently, so I appreciate the extra time that you guys are putting in towards that, and the dedication and effort that the administration is putting towards this as well, because it is very important. So with that, we will stay with Jane, and we are looking forward to a business administrator update.
Okay, so I enclosed in the packet the business administrator update. I have been including my 3 departments: finance, food service, and facilities. I just want to highlight a few things. ESSER 2 grants closed as of September 30th, so all reporting has to be done no later than November 14th. I have also submitted all the documents required for the Honeywell HVAC project that we're using ESSER 3. Just want to highlight some of the things that we had to do in order to apply for that grant. Grants are really good, except all of this paperwork they have to do to get them. Some of those things that were included, and Honeywell was very helpful in trying to help get some of this information as well. We had to do a it's called a final approval for the construction project, and I had to do one for each of our schools. Also, the Department of Ed, we had to do a request for conceptual eligibility approval, which, again, Honeywell provided what the scope of the work was going to be for all 4 schools, Barca, Gilbert H. Hood, Grinnell, and West Running Brook. We also had to present our plan to the State Fire Marshal's office, and within that, we had to provide building plans, sprinkler plans, the fire alarm plans, and a detailed project plan. Again, that was one for each of those schools. And we also had to submit information to the New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources and had to present our project with an applicant form, detailed project plan, photos of the building, geographic coordinates with mapping. And thank you to Mark LaRue from the town. He is an expert in that area, and he really helped me out a lot on that one, including the project boundary mapping. And all of that information has been submitted to each of those offices, and we are just waiting for final approval. Also, just want to update some of the areas. I know that the board has asked when we look at some of the areas of concern at this point in the budget year. So far, the transportation budget is currently over $172,000. Now, we did have to have some additional busing due to some out-of-district placements and routing and bus monitors. But again, that's at this point right now of the year in October. That doesn't mean that transportation issues may change. Next month, a student may be back in the district and we don't have to encumber those funds for transportation. So I will highlight these every time I come to the board meeting. Contracted services are over by $358,000. Laura and Sue have been working to try to transfer some of those to federal funds. Out-of-district tuition is over budget by $526,000, and I know Laura has, given a presentation at the budget meetings regarding why that is, number of students, the increase in the cost of some of the placements. Also, that will change throughout the school year, and in our next presentation, I will. Maybe we'll be able to put an area in here where we can just identify the changes, whether it's we added a student or, a student moves in or comes back from the program, but we'll try to give you as much information as possible so that you understand why there are going to be changes or why it's over budget. Next charter school, we talked, actually through the budget, regarding the special education at Next, and we received the first of the 5 tuition bills for regular education. We did budget at 77 students, and they currently invoiced us for 70 students. And we will receive 3 special education invoices during the year. Those were not budgeted for special education. However, they are, the staffing is appropriate and for the number of students that are identified that are, and it's only for Derry students within that program. We also received the first Pinkerton Academy tuition bill. I want to make a note that when we went through the budget process last year, the board and fiscal advisory voted that we would reduce the general ed number of students by 55, and we reduced the number of resource students by 60. And I don't want the public to think that because we reduced it by 60, the resource, that we're not providing resource students services to 60 students. It's just, students unfortunately may opt out of the program or they've moved out of the program. And when we've looked historically, we've had additional students in there. So we estimated reducing the budget by that much. And I just wanted to give you some, like a 5-year history so that you can see what we've budgeted and what we were billed for and the number of students, what the difference was. And if we're just looking at this year with the first billing, you can see that from what we estimated to the first bill that I received in October, we have a difference of 17 general education students. And if you look further down and look at resource, we have 36 less students that are being serviced, And you can see the other programs, HiSET, ACT, PASSES, and the NECC program. And so total billed is 2 less students than what we had budgeted. So when we get our second billing, I will fill in the February column. So that's when we get our next 90-day bill, and then we get sort of a cleanup bill in April. So they bill us 90 days and 90 days. They just pre-bill us. At the end of the school year, if there's any credits, then we get a credit for that at the end. If we move on to food service, our Director of Child Nutrition, Christina Lebelzik, put some information here with relative to the program. Again, reminding families about free and reduced. She just submitted another, I think it was 12 applications to me today for my review. We continue to have families being approved for free and reduced, and working to families who are on the cusp of qualifying for free and reduced. And if they don't qualify, we are reaching out with them with additional resources with our home to school coordinators. The debt for the meal program is about $25,000 right now. We're continuing to reach out to our families by email, letter, and phone call, and we are setting up payment plans for families. October 18th was the New Hampshire Great Apple Crunch, which is a campaign offered by the Office of Nutrition Programs in New Hampshire to celebrate New Hampshire Farm to School Month, promoting the crunch into a locally grown apple from New Hampshire. So we offered a lot of apples in our district on that day, and we offer apples many days during the week. So thank you to Christina and her staff for promoting that. And we were recently awarded the local Food for School grant for Grinnell Elementary. The grant will allow us to purchase fresh produce from a local distributor. We actually were approved in that grant in August, and now she is starting to implement that. Facilities, October 2nd was National Custodian Appreciation Day, and I know each of the schools did something wonderful for their staff, and we just want to express our appreciation to all of our staff members and maintenance department. Maintenance department has taken out their snow plows, and they are out of storage and they are ready to go. Can't believe I'm saying that out loud. But they are doing all their preseason maintenance and getting ready to put all the mowers away. The filters for the HVAC units have been delivered, and they are storing those. We were able to purchase those with federal grant funds. They are working with a vendor on door repairs and adjustments. That happens a lot, and he actually goes around with the fire department because they have been instrumental in working with us to make sure that we are installing the correct type of door. And they've also been focusing on a lot of the minor repairs, things that are coming in through School Dude for our work orders. And actually, next report, I think that I will have Jeremy put in the number of School Dude requests and completions that they've done year to date, because you'd be surprised. It's a lot that they have going on. And then they just listed some of the projects that they've been working on. Again, the fire alarm system replacement design. They've already been working with the engineer on that. Gilbert H. Hood, the air handler for the library, was repaired after they had an air conditioning issue. The West Running Brook sign, if you had driven by it, I don't know, a month or two ago, our sign was vandalized, and it happened to be at the same time there was a string of vandalism in that vicinity on 28. And although we know the sign is going to change next year because it's going to be a 5-6, we certainly didn't want the sign that you can see in the picture to be representative of our school district and have letters missing. So I think it was $1,000 that we paid to the sign company to fix our sign, and West Running Brook picked a logo. They also are working on the roof designs through ARM, and BARCA, the fire alarm control panel, did require replacement following a late September electrical storm, and roof replacement design is ongoing through ARM for BARCA as well. Any questions on those before I go to the actual finance?
I do just have a quick question on the food services. I know that this has been a continued problem through, and I respect how much you guys are really doing to address it, and I thank you for that. I wanted to know, is there anything that we're doing to try to prevent this from happening rather than just responding to the debt?
Do you mean prevent students from having unpaid debt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but and then also, like, what strategies have been working that you found? Like, I just don't want to continue, like, it just seems like we're
It is.
we're not solving anything here, and I want to
No.
see if there's a way can we address this differently?
Yeah, and historically, Kearney, we used to be able to have our register at the beginning of the lunch line. So if I came through the lunch line and I didn't have money on my account, the cashier from the food service would look at my account and say, I'm sorry, Jane, there's no money on your account.
Yeah, I don't love that
And so
either,
they
though.
wouldn't go through. However, the state does not, they don't, well, it's really federal, they don't allow you to collect money at the beginning of the line anymore because they feel that if I was to pay for my meal before I go through, but then as I got down there, cheeseburgers looked really good, so I wanted 2 of them, and now I've put 2 cheeseburgers on my plate and I've walked out. Or I have my plate and I don't put all of the federal components on my plate, then we can't get reimbursed for that. So federal government, unless I want to pay somebody, which we don't have the funds to do that, to be at the beginning of the line to look up a student's balance, once they come in that line and they have a tray in their hands and they put anything on that tray, we're not taking food off of a tray or taking food away from them. So our best approach right now is educating parents, calling parents. We encourage parents to sign up for My School Bucks or My Lunch Money. They can sign up, and even if they don't want to put money on their account through there, they can just sign up for the reminders to let them know their accounts are low. And so it's really just, it's families getting, we have people with outstanding balances who are now on free. And so to, even try to collect some of that money, they work really hard in food service. Food service will go to our home to school coordinators, talk to them about, Jane continues to go through line, but she's not putting money on her account. Can you see if there's issues, with the family or having financial struggles, or could you reach out to them and see what we can do for them? So our food service works very closely with the home to school coordinators and the principals. For a long time, we have tried to keep principals out of anything finances with families, because it puts a principal in a very awkward position to then have to have a good relationship with a mom or dad regarding their student for any other issue. We don't want them in the middle about money. So Patty in my office does collections. We have a part-timer in food service now who is contacting parents every day. So it's the best we can do is just try to reach out to them, and having parents let their students know that they don't have a balance, and that you can't continue to go through lunch line if you have no money. Once they get to Pinkerton, I think they get 2 lunches, and they do stop them from going through.
So there's no just more proactive approach to this? Like, is it legal to even print out that form for them to request free and reduce and send that home with them? So it's right there. People are busy.
It goes home with them in the beginning of the year. We're required to, we sent it home hard copy with every family. So
No, I know,
every
yeah.
household gets the application. We have it online. I say it at every single board meeting. The home to school coordinators, like I said, they're working with the kitchen managers and calling families, helping them fill it out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know that you guys are doing
That's
everything
okay.
you can. I wish there was something else that we could do so that this is just not a recurring thing over and over, just for you guys and for the families. Just because it's a stressor that I think nobody needs right now. And I think it was like, 88% of our eligible students aren't applying for it. So it just, I wish there was a way that we could address this in a bigger way, in a more meaningful way in this community, because I know for the families that are affected, having that phone call every day, believe me, I got debt collectors calling me too, and I'm just, no, I'm not answering, and you don't want that from your school. So just,
That
I
happens.
encourage brainstorming. If anybody does have ideas out there, send them our way.
Jane? Sure. The other thing is we now have that on our website. People can apply electronically, and it goes home in the school newsletters so that people are reminded frequently that they can apply. We are really fortunate in our community as well because people donate to that balance. We've had restaurants donate their tips to that program so that there aren't an outstanding balance. People, just out of the goodness of their heart, give to either the outstanding balance, or if they know that there's families that are in need, and they'll go and say, put this on this family's lunch account. So, but we can't let kids go hungry. And we know during COVID, when breakfast and lunch was free for everybody, we had people who were a lot more alert, bellies were full, and children were happy. And that's what matters, right? I mean, I don't like to see a balance that we have to figure out how to pay for, but at the same time.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
No, I didn't mean that, but I didn't mean that you did. But people might think that out there, right? So, but we need to make sure our children are fed. And however that works, it would be great if we could have free and reduced, or free breakfast and lunch again, and maybe that will happen, I don't know, but there are states that do it now, continue the federal program. So it'd be nice to maybe advocate for that.
Call your state rep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we also did you went to the delegate assembly a couple weeks ago. We put towards that resolution last year. So yeah, hopefully, either at the state or federal level. I think, I actually think this is one area that we are doing a lot of as far as education, and I think our mindset is don't let any kid come out of lunch being hungry, right? Like, so if you don't have money, I would be honest, I've seen this fund go up to I think approaching $35,000.
Putting a
this
debt
is a
collector on
lower
our
this is a
parents.
lower amount, and so if your kid is hungry, send them through the breakfast and the lunch line. We will give them food.
And again, that's not what I meant by that conversation at all, just for public notice.
Any other questions for Jane regarding the business administrator's update? Jane, thank you for the comprehensive update. I will pass it over to Austin for personnel.
So let me just make a statement about Jane and Food Service Director Christina Lebelzik and her staff and our accounts receivable, the communication, because I know, Kearney, this is something that you're very passionate about, and I do appreciate it. The amount of communication that this district does, that Jane and Christina and their staff out at the schools, it is intense. And the fact that we still struggle to get people to fill out forms is extremely frustrating. And we've found that the accounts payable, receivable person spends a lot of time making phone calls and trying to work with people to make small payments over time. And that is a difficult process as well. And I will say one more thing, along with students that could qualify for free and reduced. I know this is shocking to say, but we have situations where families that have no need of free and reduced, and they still don't pay. No matter how many times we approach them and call them, we still don't get payments. So that's rather frustrating, to say the least, especially for Jane and Christina and accounts receivable, when we know it's a situation where it's not a family or a student in need, it's just lack of responsibility. But enough said about that. I do not have any personnel tonight.
All right, then we'll stick with you for your update.
Okay. So I have prepared an editorial, which just to clarify to everybody, is my opinion. So here goes. So much is happening in our society today that is troublesome to most of us. And people reach out to me, to school board members, and to other members of our community looking for us to take sides on these issues. I know for me, taking sides is not the answer. I want to address what I believe is the answer: tolerance and acceptance. In an age marked by diversity and interconnectivity, these principles are more essential than ever. Tolerance, the willingness to understand and respect the beliefs, practices, and opinions of others, even when they differ from our own. Acceptance, on the other hand, goes even a step further. Acceptance means embracing diversity, recognizing the intrinsic value of each and every individual, irrespective of their race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or any characteristic that distinguishes them from us. The world is a diverse and vibrant tapestry of cultures, beliefs, and backgrounds. Each thread, each unique piece of that puzzle contributes to the beauty and richness of our global society. This diversity can also be a source of tension and misunderstanding. It is when we fail to practice tolerance and acceptance that conflicts arise and hatred festers. Tolerance and acceptance are not about surrendering our own beliefs or compromising our principles. They are about acknowledging the dignity and rights of every person to hold their own views and live their own lives authentically. In a truly tolerant and accepting society, people feel safe. I did it again. Feel safe to express their individuality, their thoughts, their emotions without fear of judgment or discrimination. To foster a culture of tolerance and acceptance, we must start by teaching these values to our children. They are our future. It is crucial that they grow up understanding that our differences are something to be celebrated, not feared. Our schools play a pivotal role in shaping this understanding. By encouraging open dialogue, empathy, and respect, we can cultivate an environment where our young minds learn the importance of both tolerance and acceptance. Furthermore, as adults, we must be the role models for our communities. We need to set an example of how to engage in respectful conversations and how to bridge divides that may exist. We must challenge our own biases and prejudices and be willing to learn from others. By doing so, we can create an atmosphere of inclusivity and understanding rather than one of division and mistrust. It is also crucial for governments and institutions to enact and enforce policies that promote tolerance and acceptance. Equal rights and protections for all citizens, regardless of their background or identity, should be a cornerstone of any just society. Laws and regulations that ensure this equality help to set the standards for the rest of society. Here in New Hampshire, our state motto is live free or die, which to me means everyone has the right to live their life according to their beliefs with the freedom to pursue their hopes and dreams. Tolerance and acceptance are not mere buzzwords, but instead they are the foundation upon which a peaceful and prosperous world is built. We should remember that the values of tolerance and acceptance are universal, transcending borders, religions, and cultures. They remind us of our shared humanity and the interconnectedness of our global community. Let us strive to be more tolerant, more accepting, and more compassionate towards one another. By doing so, we can create a world, a country, a state, and right here in Derry, New Hampshire, a town where diversity is not a source of division, but a source of strength. A place where every individual is valued and where peace and understanding prevail. That is my hope. It is also my opinion about all the negativity, conflict, and hatred that we see on the news and in our society. If we were tolerant, if we were accepting, then our town of Derry, New Hampshire in the United States of America would lead the way in making our society more harmonious and peaceful. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that. And I have the same hope, but I think it's important to say it out loud, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you for those words, Austin. Anyone from the board have any questions for Austin or comments? All right, we will move on to FYIs. As you can see in your packet, there is a volunteer fingerprinting evening appointment session coming up on November 1st. I don't know what day that is. Is that a Wednesday? Thursday? Let me double check. Yeah. Wednesday, November 1st, from 4 to 8 at the superintendent's office. This is.
We want to thank Mary Ellen and Tagliatella and Kathy Kennedy. This is something that they do from time to time for those individuals that struggle to get into the office during the regular business hours. So I want to thank them for this, and I hope it provides the opportunity for some of our community members to get fingerprinted so they can volunteer in our schools.
Yeah, so like the notice says, please contact Mary Ellen Tagliatella if you were planning on making that 4 to 8. And if you aren't making that 4 to 8, like Austin said, call anyways to come during regular business hours as well. Anyone else? Well, actually, sorry. That's it for FYIs. Moving on to committees. Start with the manifest.
I move I move the manifest in the amount of $2,351,577.03. Of that, general payroll $1,267,199.69, and general expenses of $1,084,377.34.
First by David.
Second.
Second by Jason. Paul, I'm going to call on you for first roll call.
Yes.
All right. Kearney?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Brenda? Board vote, or chair votes yes. That passes 7-0. Any other committees that have met in the last couple weeks that have any updates?
So the Pinkerton Committee did meet with some representatives from boards from some of the other sending towns last night, just to have some dialogue with the other folks who send their kids to Pinkerton. Michael and I, obviously being new school board members this year, it was great to meet some of the other folks there and kind of just open up some dialogue and collaboration. Not a whole lot of substance to share, but I think we'd like to continue that meeting moving forward. Not sure how cadence would look, but yeah, just to meet and communicate and try to collaborate and just have some good dialogue. So it's a good meeting.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any other committee meetings, or committee updates? I think I can talk about curriculum real quick. We met, I think, on the 12th, so I don't think we talked about this last meeting. We talked about how the early release days, I believe there had been one early release day and the success around that. And it sounded like one of the buzzwords I got here was teacher collective efficacy, how that has the highest impact on student achievement. So it was interesting to hear how the early release day went. It sounded like there was overall good positive feedback from the teachers, because this was a little bit different than what they've done in the past. We also talked about the the competencies and the ICANN statements. I believe those are constantly being updated, so you should be able to find those on the website. And we also talked about some of the data we have regarding SAS and NWEA testing, and seeing some of the trends that we're seeing. And again, that's always just one point of data. And then, one of the other things we discussed was just a change from, I guess, more programmatic type of curriculum to a systematic type of curriculum. So I think that was majority of the updates that we had from there. We'll be meeting again. We're meeting quarterly, so we're going to be hopefully seeing some more updated data from testing, possibly, but also we talked about the scorecard or the dashboard that we had talked about in our goal creation session over the spring. And so hopefully we'll start seeing that formulate and come together so that we have, again, more data that we can continue to track and improve. So that's what I have from curriculum. I don't know if Kearney or Brenda, if you guys had anything else? Okay.
Covered it.
All right. Other business. Go ahead.
For me. I have a message from Anthony. He had to leave early that he wants me to read. I had to leave early because I'm not sure. I just had to leave early. I want to apologize for how I conducted myself. This is from Anthony, our Pinkerton student board member. Not what I said. Let me start over, I'm sorry. I want to apologize for how I conducted myself, not what I said, but for the manner in which I did. You all know I'm compassionate, and I will remain compassionate. In my email to the board when I was elected, I stated I would be an active participant. The policy BBBF allows me to represent my constituents at Pinkerton. They are much more of my opinion than that of the board. I'd like to remind the public that they can contact me privately if they have concerns. Democracy only works when the government acts and listens to the public. And if this board continues to not act in what the obvious majority of the public wants, you will all lose. Again, I apologize with how I conducted myself, but your policy allows me to speak up, and I will. Anthony.
Thanks for that.
Any other business?
Kearney, I apologize earlier. I hear your point, and we are working hard to get that communication out there.
I'm not saying that you're not working hard, David. I know how hard you guys are working. It's very clear. We'll talk off meeting.
The only other business I would have brought up is, Kearney, I know you went to the New Hampshire School Board Association Delegate Assembly. I don't know if you have anything to report back tonight, or if you wanted to wait until next meeting.
I mean, I could. I just packed it all away, but
we can wait.
Yeah, let's just wait until next meeting. Promise, I'll cover it then.
All right. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
First by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason. Paul. Good night. After you vote. Or you may have checked out already. All right. Paul, have a great night. If you're still there, we'll abstain you from this vote. Kearney?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Brenda? Yes. Board or chair votes yes. Motion passes 6-0-1. Thank you all and have a good night. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
No, 3 weeks. Sorry.